Nightline begins now with me, Muhammed Ahmad Hamdan. News making the headlines. Implementation of Amended Employment Act 1955 deferred to 2023. And Insolvency Department submits proposal to improve Act 360. We begin with this headlining story. The tabling of Budget 2023 is set to take place on October 7th, contrary to the earlier scheduled date of October 28th. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, confirmed the matter, stating that it would be tabled during the third session of the 14th Parliament session, which will commence on October 3rd. In a statement on Friday, Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi said the proposed schedule was supposed to begin from October 25th to December 15th for 31 days for the Dewan Rakyat and December 8th until December 22nd for 9 days for the Dewan Negara, which the Cabinet had agreed to before this. He said the new schedule proposed will be between October 3rd until November 29th for the Dewan Rakyat, which is 32 days, and November 21st until December 7th for 11 days for the Dewan Negara. This is 23 days earlier than originally scheduled. Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi said the change followed the need for the government to amend the calendar of the third meeting to enable the expedited tabling of Budget 2023. He added that the move is also to enable the presentation of the Supplementary Supply Bill 2022 and the Fiscal Responsibility Bill to be presented once the Supply Budget Bill 2023 is approved in the Dewan Rakyat. Earlier, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri had hinted that this year's budget will put the public's well-being at its core by taking into consideration the challenges that await next year. He had said that among the budget's main priorities would be to ensure the nation's post-COVID-19 recovery, which will include the creation of jobs, increases in income, and the survival of businesses. He added that the government would also pay attention to a safe and comfortable living environment by emphasizing inclusive and sustainable development. In the meantime, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob has said that the decision to bring forward the tabling of Budget 2023 is not unusual. When asked to comment on the earlier tabling, the Prime Minister said in the past the budget had been tabled as early as September.
Dulu waktu zaman Pala bulan September pun.
Okey, so memang confirm di awal ke Oktober 7 ya?
Tunggu Menteri Undang-Undang Parlimen umumkan.
Okey.
The Prime Minister said this to reporters after the launch of the UDA Usaha Niaga Keluarga Malaysia Carnival in Kuala Lumpur on Friday. He, however, declined to comment further on the matter. The enforcement of amendments to the Employment Act 1955 to provide for shorter working hours has been postponed to January 1st next year from its earlier scheduled date of September 1st. Human Resources Minister Datuk Seri M. Saravanan said this was decided by the Cabinet on Friday after industries and employers unanimously asked for the postponement due to several factors. Apart from reducing working hours from 48 to 45 hours per week, the amended law will also increase maternity leave from 60 days to 98 days and paternity leave from 3 days to 7 days. The amendments would also allow employees to work flexible hours and give them the ability to choose location, time and number of work days. According to Datuk Seri Saravanan, the reduced work hours should also apply to migrant workers.
Ini sedikit sebanyak akan memberi ruang kepada pihak industri khususnya kepada majikan supaya mereka recover lebih awal. Mereka khawatir mungkin penguatkuasaan ini kita dalam dua keadaan. Yang pertama, mereka masih menghadapi shortage pekerja asing untuk menambahkan produktiviti, dan dalam keadaan seperti ini apabila kita mengurangkan waktu operasi mungkin ia akan menjejaskan pendapatan mereka.
Datuk Seri Saravanan said the restrictions imposed on the entry of foreign workers in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic had resulted in a shortage of manpower in industries. He added that although Malaysia now allowed foreign workers to enter again, the process of fulfilling the manpower needs of industries would take time. He noted that this is the final postponement and these amendments will be enforced on January 1st. He also pointed out that discriminatory clauses against foreign maids in the first schedule of the Act will be addressed once the amendments are enforced in January. The amendments were approved by Parliament in March this year, and Datuk Sri Saravanan had earlier said that the amended law would be enforced on September 1st. Meanwhile, the Malaysian Trades Union Congress MTUC is disappointed with the announcement made by the government on the postponement of the implementation of the Employment Act 1955, which was supposed to be enforced on September 1st this year. Its acting president, Muhammad Effendi Abdul Ghani, said it seemed as if workers were being pushed aside by the government, although the amendments were for their benefit.
And it was not discussed with the MTUC for the postponement. So I think for the MTUC, this action is really like ignoring the view of the workers by the governments, despite the amendment was giving effect and impact of the benefit on the workers in our country. This is really bad news and decision by the government for the workers in Malaysia. Therefore, MTUC, we really urge the governments to have the engagement with the MTUC for the more explanations and detailed explanation of the postponement of the Employment Act.
Muhammad Effendi said the postponement will have a big impact on more than 16.5 million workers in Malaysia. He also said that all stakeholders should be aware of the economic challenges faced by low and medium-income workers, especially in the small and medium enterprise sector, SMEs, who are still burdened by the increase in the cost of living due to the price hike. He noted that workers from the informal sector are also struggling to work with uncertain wages. MTUC urged the government to hold a National Labour Advisory Council meeting to discuss the issue as it involved the interests of workers. Moving on, the Insolvency Department has submitted a proposal to the government for amendments to 4 provisions to launch the bankruptcy estate administration process. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, said the proposed amendments involve improvements to provisions in Section 33C of Act 360 regarding automatic relief to help more bankrupts get out of a bankruptcy after a period of 3 years. In a statement on Friday, Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi said the department's main focus is to speed up the bankruptcy administration process and to help those declared bankrupt to get out of bankruptcy. He added a briefing on the proposed amendments was presented to him by the department on Thursday. However, he said the Legal Affairs Division and the Attorney General's chambers need to study the proposed amendment in detail, especially in relation to its implications on the public. Secondly, the proposal also aims to set a time limit for the filing of the proof of debt form by the creditor to speed up the process of a bankruptcy discharge or cancellation of the bankruptcy order. He said the proposal involves abolishing the first meeting of creditors, which means that the proposal for a meeting of creditors should only be held based on the needs and requests of creditors to avoid delays, and subsequent planning can be made to help the bankrupt out of bankruptcy. The last proposal concerns adding new uses for long-distance communication technology in bankruptcy administration matters, which can help those declared bankrupts deal with the Insolvency Department online and digitally and facilitate bankruptcy administration. Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi said Malaysia's bankruptcy figures showed a declining pattern, with 12,051 cases in 2019, followed by 8,351 cases in 2020, 6,554 cases last year, and 3,604 bankruptcy cases up to July. The declining trend based on percentage compared with the previous years was recorded at 26.88% in 2019, 30.7% in 2020, and 21.52% in 2021. He said the declining pattern is also caused by other factors, including the government's initiatives through loan moratoriums and targeted assistance to banks, where lenders and borrowers can discuss debt restructuring.
Project delays, shortage of skilled workers, and less access to building products and materials. How do property developers manage these situations effectively? Intensified global supply chain disruptions. Will input costs remain elevated? Money Matters speaks with Bandarin Bayu Sendrian Berhad this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3.
The government has channeled 20.9 billion ringgit to over 350,000 employees through the Wage Subsidy Program, WSP, as of August 5th. The initiative is to maintain the employment of 2.96 million local workers. According to Finance Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz, a total of 322,177 employers and 2.64 million workers have received WSP 1.0 benefits. In the 108th Laporan Kewangan Rakyat issued on Friday, the minister said the approved wage subsidy applications have already reached 12.95 billion ringgit. As for WSP 2.0, a total of 1.4 billion ringgit had been channeled and 3.77 billion ringgit was channeled under WSP 3.0. Meanwhile, under WSP 4.0, 164,000 employees have received 2.579 billion ringgit and 219.65 million ringgit was channeled under WSP 5.0 during the period. One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB former Chief Executive Arulkanda Kandasamy said he did not have any direct knowledge on the involvement of former High Court Judge Datuk Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali in the 4.1 billion ringgit loan to the Sovereign State Fund in late March 2012. However, Arulkanda said he was aware that Datuk Muhammad Nazlan, who is now a Court of Appeal judge, was Maybank's Corporate and Legal Services Department Company Secretary and Group General Counsel between 2006 and 2014. Arulkanda said he never contacted or met Datuk Muhammad Nazlan directly during his 4-year tenure as the Sovereign State Fund top executive. Arulkanda was appointed as 1MDB CEO on January 5, 2015, before he was sacked on June 28, 2018. Arulkanda said he only contacted Maybank's lawyer, Delvin Kaur, and Michael O. Lau from the Commercial Loan Division when dealing with the bank. Datuk Muhammad Nazlan's name cropped up in the case after Arulkanda was asked by Datuk Sri Najib's lead counsel, Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah. The senior counsel had asked him whether he knew Datuk Muhammad Nazlan had worked with Maybank and if he knew of the latter's involvement in the 4.1 billion ringgit loan by Maybank to 1MDB. It was then that lead prosecutor Datuk Sri Gopal Sri Ram asked him the follow-up questions. On July 2020, Datuk Muhammad Nazlan, who was then the High Court judge, sentenced Datuk Sri Najib to 12 years jail and fined the Pekan Member of Parliament 210 million ringgit after he was found guilty of all 7 charges related to the misappropriation of 42 million ringgit of SRC international funds. Arulkanda was testifying as a key witness in Datuk Sri Najib's trial on Friday, where he is accused of using his position as the then Prime Minister to instruct for the final audit report on 1MDB to be amended before it was presented to the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee, PAC. Arulkanda was originally charged with abetting Datuk Sri Najib, but he has since turned prosecution witness. The trial before Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan continues on September 2nd. The Court of Appeal has again rescheduled to another day to deliver its verdict on Datuk Sri Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahim's appeal to strike out his corruption and money laundering charges. This time, the 3-member panel has postponed it to September 5th as the former Tabung Haji chairman is unwell. The decision was made by the 3-member panel comprising Justice Datuk Sri Kamaluddin Mat Said, Justice Datuk Abu Bakar Jais and Justice Datuk Cik Muhammad Ruzima Ghazali. Datuk Sri Abdul Aziz's lawyer, Amir Hamzah Arshad, informed the court that his client could not attend court on Friday as he was suffering from acute gastroenteritis since 2 a.m. and had gone to seek treatment at University Malaya Medical Centre. Amir Hamza said it was not his client's intention to abuse a court's process and would undertake to give the court a copy of Datuk Sri Abdul Aziz's medical certificate. The panel was supposed to decide on Datuk Sri Abdul Aziz's appeal last month, but it was postponed to Friday, as Amir Hamza told the court previously that he had made representations to the Attorney General's Chambers AGC. However, the lawyer told the court that he had not received any reply from the AGC. 55-year-old Datuk Sri Abdul Aziz is appealing against the High Court's decision on March 12 last year, which dismissed his application to strike out 3 corruption charges involving 5.2 million ringgit in connection with road projects in Perak and Kedah, and 10 money laundering charges involving 13.9 million ringgit. More local updates later in the bulletin, but first, Australia's ex-PM to face inquiry over secret roles. Don't go away. Back with news from the foreign front. Suspended Thailand Prime Minister Prayuth said he will continue in his role as Defence Minister after a court ordered him to cease his duties as Prime Minister while his term limit is being reviewed. In his first direct address to the public, the 68-year-old said he will continue to do his duty and responsibility as Defence Minister for the people and Thailand. Previously, the Constitutional Court decided to hear a petition brought by the main opposition party, arguing that Prayuth's years spent as the chief of a military junta after he took power in a 2014 coup should count toward his overall time in office. The Constitution stipulates a term limit of 8 years for the Prime Minister. However, it remains unclear when the court will deliver a decision on the review. In the meantime, Deputy Prime Minister Prawit Wongsuwan is serving as acting Prime Minister, while the court mulls its final verdict. Australia has appointed a former High Court judge to lead an inquiry into former Prime Minister Scott Morrison's secret appointments to some ministries at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Incumbent Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced the creation of the inquiry on Friday, saying the country's system of parliamentary democracy had been tested. Albanese said the inquiry was essential in order to ensure that it will never happen again, adding that the probe will be led by former High Court Judge Virginia Bell and will report by November 25th. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Conservative leader Morrison appointed himself to the Ministries of Health, Treasury, Finance, Resources and Home Affairs without telling colleagues or the public. Morrison, however, has insisted he was right to take emergency powers during the tumult of the pandemic. Pakistan has officially declared a national emergency in dealing with monsoon flooding that it said had affected more than 4 million people. The National Disaster Management Agency on Friday said more than 900 people had been killed this year, including 34 in the last 24 hours, as a result of the monsoon rains that began in June. It added that over 4.2 million people were affected by the flooding, with nearly 220,000 homes destroyed and 500,000 more badly damaged. Additionally, it was reported that 2 million acres of cultivated crops had been wiped out in Sindh alone, where many farmers live hand-to-mouth, season to season. Officials said this year's floods are comparable to 2010, which was the worst on record, when over 2,000 people died and nearly a fifth of the country was underwater. Over in the UK, more than 115,000 workers at Britain's Royal Mail began the first of a 4-day strike action on Friday in a paid dispute, which the postal group said was likely to cause significant disruption for customers. It is the latest in a spate of labour stoppages to hit Britain as workers demand higher wages in the face of a cost of living crisis, with energy bills soaring and inflation projected to exceed 13% later this year. Royal Mail, in the meantime, said it has offered a 5.5% pay rise for CW grade workers, which is its biggest increase in years. The union, however, disputed this and said the company only imposed a 2% pay increase on workers and offered a further 1.5% subject to changes to terms and conditions. Sports men's doubles Aaron Chia So Woo Yik delivered the best performance of the week as they kept the Malaysian flag flying high by checking into the semi-finals of the World Championships. The world number 6 overcame South Korea's world number 11, Choi Sol-gyu Seo Seong-jae 21-18, 21-16 in the quarterfinals at the Tokyo Metropolitan Gymnasium on Friday. The Olympic bronze medalists got their act right from the start as they took the crucial first game 21-18, and they kept up the momentum in the second game to seal the win in 40 minutes. The win means Aaron Woo Yik have kept up their impressive record against the Koreans, having now won their last 4 meetings in a row. The victory also meant they were the only Malaysians left standing in Tokyo after mixed doubles pairs Tan Kian Meng Lai Peijing and Goh Sun Huat Chevan Lai both lost their last 8 encounters. Tan Lai were picked apart easily 9-21, 9-21 by top seeds Zheng Siwei, Huang Ya Qiong in a contest that lasted less than half an hour. Goal line were also no match for third seeds Yuta Watanabe, Arisa Higashino, going down 17-21, 13-21. In another match, the medal hopes for India in the men's singles category were dashed after Pranoy HS was knocked out in the quarter-finals. In a match that lasted over an hour, the Indian was up against Chinese shuttler Zhao Junpeng. The nail-biting contest went into 3 sets, with the first one being won by Pranoy, but the Chinese player made a stunning comeback to clinch the match 19-21, 21-6 and 21-18. Meanwhile, Olympic champions Victor Axelsen and Chen Yufei were also through to BWF World Championship semi-finals in Tokyo, Japan on Friday. Axelsen beat Indonesia's Anthony Ginting 21-10, 21-10, while Chen Yufei beat Michelle Lee of Canada 21-18, 21-17. 2017 winner Axelsen will take on the 4th seed Chou Tianchen for a place in the final. We're going for a short break. Almost 2 million ringgit worth of contraband cigarettes seized. When we return. Died after she fell from the 9th floor unit of the Sri Sabah flats in Cheras on Friday. Cheras District Police Chief ACP Zam Halim Jamaluddin said the girl fell from the kitchen balcony at about 9:30 a.m. Her mother and a younger sibling were at home at the time of the incident. However, she did not realize that she had gone to the kitchen when the incident happened. The victim was sent to Hospital Chancellor Tuanku Muhriz and was pronounced dead by the medical officer. The case is being investigated under the Child Act. The Sabah Royal Malaysian Customs Department has seized 100,500 packets of smuggled cigarettes of various brands worth some 2 million ringgit in a raid in Jalan Lama Penampang Papar off the Pan-Borneo Highway. In a press conference on Friday, State Zone Customs Assistant Director General Cheong Yu Min said, acting on public information, its Kota Kinabalu Enforcement Division detained a 3-ton lorry in the operation last Saturday. On inspection, the authorities found over 100,000 packets of contraband cigarettes worth 139,100 ringgit, with unpaid duty and tax amounting to 1.86 million ringgit. 2 men aged 26 and 62 were also arrested in the operation, and the 25,000 ringgit lorry was confiscated. The modus operandi was to transport the contraband goods using a 3-ton bounded truck to fool the authorities. The smuggled cigarettes were believed to be for the local market distribution in the state and probably for other districts. Now, moviegoers are now able to board boats floating on the waters of Venice to enjoy the first screening of the festival, the floating cinema Unknown Waters. When evening light falls, viewers can not only watch the movie but also enjoy the breathtaking view of Venice in the waters behind the island of Giudecca. Let's take a look at the event as we wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Muhammed, Ahmad, Hamdan. Thank you for watching and be well, Malaysia.